Alright guys, I'm going to be honest, okay? Now get your hate mail ready, alright? Get your fingers on the keyboard if you feel like it. Here it comes. I don't like Series 5. Do I hate it? No. Do I think there are some good moments? Absolutely. There are plenty of reasons why. It's the last series of the show. The show was only half made. This was released after the passing of Elizabeth Sladen. The stories are not that great. And the only great stories in the series are the ones that never got made. But to me, the reason I dislike this series is because this is a series that should not have existed. I'm not kidding. Series 4 pretty much seemed to have ended the show perfectly. Sure, there were some gaps still open, but the finale still felt like a perfect ending, a perfect bookend. And I didn't think there was a reason to make another series. But for what this series was, even though it was really hard to watch since this was a goodbye to the character, I'm kind of glad they released these episodes. I mean, if they did cancel the entire series because of the sad news, then that would be much more disappointing. But since this is part of the marathon, I'm going to see if there is at least one good thing in this series. And not just because this is a way of saying goodbye. Starting with Sky. Oh my god. Okay. Do I even need to explain what this plot is? I can only describe the episode in 3 words. Boring and predictable. You can obviously tell what the plot is by the name, the character, and the setting. An abandoned baby on the doorstep, an evil mother looking for her. Big surprise, it turns out the baby is actually part of a deadly weapon, so the hero must find a way to stand up against the enemy and become a better mother. Yes, so basically, the plot is the same generic orphan's child story plot in existence. And when you look at it another way, doesn't this look and sound familiar? Yeah. I think this episode is, note for note, the invasion of the Bane. Okay, look, it's not a bad idea to reuse an earlier plot to introduce new fans, but if you are someone who has seen this plot before, you are immediately going to be bored throughout the story, wondering when is the scene where Sky turns good and loses her power comes up, so that this episode could finish quicker. And speaking of Sky, okay, I don't have a problem with Sinead Michael. As a person, I believe that she may be a good actress. But to me, I felt the same way I did with April from Class. They are played by good actresses, but they are not interesting characters. I can't believe I'm saying this, but April from Class is a much more interesting character than Sky. Because she had a personality, a reason to be there, a motive in this series. Sky has none of that. I guess the only moment in which she had a personality was when she giggled at Mr. Smith's scan, which tickled her. Sure, it's a predictable, stupid joke, but at least she emoted in the scene. But other than that, Sky is just there because we need someone to replace Luke. I'm not kidding. You could have had her dialogue be done by Luke, and it wouldn't make any difference. The same can be said with the mother. Well, I do admit there are some moments in which the actress is enjoying herself. She's just a stereotypical science parent who treats her creation as a child, but actually cares more about having her child get into a war. Again, you could replace her with Mrs. Wormwood, and that would be no difference. I'm gonna say it, I'm ashamed to say it. This is the one episode in which I don't find Clyde funny. I mean it. He's not funny in this episode. I admire him for taking care of the baby, Sky, but none of his jokes are that hilarious, even when Sky has to repeat them. And I can't even remember what Ronnie did in this episode that made her stand out. Oh yeah, she helped Sky get dressed, right? Right? When you're looking at the last adventure we had with Series 4, it felt emotional, big, grand, epic, extraordinary, character-driven story for everyone. And then what do we get next? Typical boring family story. Great. I tried so hard to find at least one good thing, and so far, there were only 2. 1. The idea of 2 races hating each other for no reason and declaring war is a nice touch. Plus, let's add the design of the metal kind as a 1.5. In fact, I'd say the metal kind is the only good supporting character in this story. The only good scene in this episode is a double-sided coin. One side It involves the shopkeeper from Series 4 making a return to reveal that he left Sky at the doorstep. It was originally meant to be the Doctor, but I think it's probably better to have a different type of character involved. As always, the actor does a good job. But the other side of the coin is the moment I saw this scene, I was disappointed because I knew where this was going. He was going to be the new River Song in the Sarah Jane Adventures, in which we don't find out exactly who he is until later on in the series, but since this series never ended, it is still a disappointing moment. However, it was kind of interesting about why she was there, why on Bannon Road, but I'll talk about that in another video. This was a really hard review to make. I mean, I love this show, and I don't want to say bad things about it, but I'm sorry, and I know I said check out the weaker ones, but this is the absolute weakest episode of the entire show. I want to wish that this episode never happened, but I cannot because there are small bits inside that intrigue me, and it does serve a purpose for Series 5. I'd say if you're new to the show, and this was your first episode, I think you'll find it okay. But trust me when I say, if you're going from the first series onwards, I would not recommend watching this episode. However, since Sky is going to be in the next episodes of the series, I guess you'll have no choice but to see her origin. Which is fine, but I warn you, you're not going to find anything new or interesting. Take my word for it.